Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Apologies, we're a little bit late here. I appreciate you being patient with us. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Kansas City Public School Board of Directors for February 23rd, 2022. This meeting is called to order. June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Abarca,
Present.
Ms. Buckner, Ms. Cortez,
Here.
Ms. Ford, here. Dr. Jones, here. Ms. Wolfsey,
Here.
Mr. Hogan.
Here, thank you. All right. We need to remove one item from the agenda. So I'd like to get a motion to remove number 4 under regular business items, Integrity Energy Partners. We'll be tabling that for another day. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda minus the Integrity Energy Partners LLC contract?
So moved.
Second.
June, will you please call the roll?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. All right, June, will you please do a review of the old action items for us?
There are two old action items.
Turn your mic on.
Two action items from the 9th. They will be in this Friday's Friday update. I have both of them in my inbox.
And what are those two items?
That's data from Dr. Jones on iReady, and what was the other data on Dr. Jones?
Senate Bill 319.
That's right. Thank you. Senate Bill 319. Thank you.
All right, thank you, June. All right, we'll move right into public comment, and we'll ask Mr. Love to come on up to the podium. Good evening, Mr. Love. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Tonight I want to talk about love, compassion, and special forces. The love is, I want to mention that my mother, who's 96, prayed for 10 years for the school district when we became fully unaccredited. And the day that it became fully accredited was the same day the angels took her spirit to heaven. Isn't that cool? I love the timing. And she was a mentor. I know Dr. Bedell likes the mentoring thing, and my mom loved it. She was in Texas mentoring 2 students, and the principal couldn't figure out how she was able to have so much success with those children. And she had asked for 2 students that came from broken families, 2 elementary boys, and it was a great experience for her, and she loved those children, and that makes a huge difference. I would really like to see the district focus on that, focus on what parents want when it comes to their children. They want the teachers and the other students to love each other. You know, it's a commandment that we have, right? We want to share that with people, right? That we love them. It's really, really important. And we need compassion. And compassion for the children that are so young that they're not, oh, thanks for the clock. That's great. I didn't have a clue where I was. I'm running out of time. We need to have compassion for these little children that are not ready to go into first grade. And I found that out when I first spoke, like 10 years ago tonight. Or I did a sunshine request. How many first graders don't read at first grade level? I'll speak faster. And then get promoted to second grade. Well, the acting superintendent at the time, Dr. Green, said, well, all the first graders read at first grade level before they're promoted to second. We don't have social promotion. Well, it actually came out. I did a sunshine request that was actually responded to, and it's not really a paper, but 30% of the students were at kindergarten level when they were placed in second grade. Well, Dr. Green wanted to fix that, and he wanted to have a summer school before kindergartners started, because 40% of them were 11 months behind. You have the ability and the authority to use state dollars to provide a pre-K program for 5-year-olds and get them ready, or you can do a 2-year kindergarten program and knock it out of the park. Close the gap. That's what Dr. Bedell wants to see happen. And you can do it in kindergarten or in pre-K. An extra year. Let them grow. Let them mature. Let them succeed. Let them graduate when they're 18. Don't try to force them to graduate at 17. It's the greatest gift you can give them is an extra year to mature, especially the boys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Love. And hey, really sorry to hear about your mom passing earlier this year.
She said she would never be 100%. And I said, Mom, you're going to be better than 100%. So
Yeah.
you're going to have an immortal body.
Uh,
And she smiles and says, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, sir. All right, next on the list for public comment is Mr. Richard Barr. Are you here? There you are. Hello, sir, welcome. Yep, you will have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for letting me come here and speak to you. I'm a parent of a 6th grader and a 9th grader here in the public school system, and I wanted to speak for a minute about the current mask mandates. The city ordinance 220111 that was establishing a requirement for face coverings or masks at schools where children in grades K through 12 attend class and on school buses expired last Friday, but we haven't heard anything from either our schools or the board about allowing kids to come back to school unmasked if they choose to do so. When I asked the board and Dr. Bedell's office, they said they wanted to wait until the numbers came down even more in order to protect the kids. But I submit to you guys that leaving the mandate in place is not really protecting our kids. I feel like it's harming them. I'm not afforded the time to go into all the detailed statistics. I'm sure a lot of folks have seen or heard some of them. That kids are far more likely to die from the flu or heart disease or drowning or even suicide or auto accidents than they are of COVID-19. If anyone here would want that data, I can send them the links to all that research. There's also numerous studies from places like USC and MacIver Institute, the American College of Physicians, and others on the negative effects of masking children as it pertains to their behavior, health, and development. Again, I can send those links if anyone's interested. I just find it to be a bit of a travesty that as adults we can go into work. Many of us, obviously you guys are all masked, but in many other places they're not. Go shopping, go to indoor and outdoor sporting events, all wearing a mask, not wearing a mask as an adult, but we still force the kids to be in masks for 8+ hours during the day. I feel like it's not fair, and that parents and kids and teachers should be given the choice as to whether or not they want to wear the masks. They have the choice everywhere else in the city, but not here. Our school principal said in a PTO meeting just a few weeks ago, I feel like I'm surrounded by kids all suffering from PTSD. I feel like that's not surprising because these masks are constantly reminding them that something really bad is happening and to be very, very afraid. And I feel like the fear induced is not helpful and it's misguided. Again, we only need to look at the statistics on COVID among kids to know that they, of all people, should not be masked and should not be afraid. I just encourage the board and the superintendent to take time to do some of their own research outside of what's being communicated by the NIH, the CDC, and mainstream media. Many other places in the country and around the world are going back to normal, knowing that COVID will always be with us and knowing that the Omicron variant is a shift from pandemic to endemic. It's time to do what's best for the kids, and that's allowing parents to choose whether or not the kids should wear masks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. All right, we will move on to our District Advisory Council report, and the wonderful Miss Angie Lyle is here. Hey, thanks for being patient with us last month as we had to move some things around on the schedule. Really appreciate that.
No, I really appreciated that I was able to give that report then because I have even more stuff to say. I'm going to go ahead and do. Thank you so much for having me back again to give some more updates from the District Advisory Committee. And my name, for the record, is Angie Lyle. I'm a parent at Lincoln College Prep, and I serve as the current DAC board chair. Elections are coming up, by the way. We have had some really productive meetings the last couple of weeks, and I just wanted to share some of that. movement with you because we were pretty excited about it. We had our athletics committee attend an athletics meeting to get information regarding upcoming deadlines and physicals, and they're ramping up the communications to parents about future athletic activities. So we're excited about that. We're also interested in proceeding with the partnership with the Positive Coaching Alliance, PCA. I think we've already mentioned that, but it's in my report, so here I am. Then we have the DAC is actually inviting the athletics department to our final meeting, which is going to be in May, to give parents and the community an opportunity to learn more about the plan for action as we close out this school year and move forward to next school year. So just to clarify, we actually have a meeting coming up in March, but our May meeting is when we're inviting the athletics department to come speak. And then we also got to speak with Dr. Bedell. We were very thankful for that time with him that he gave us. And we talked about some of the ideas that were floated by, like creating a sports foundation or a way for donations for KCPS Education Foundation to be earmarked for athletics. We talked about complaint resolution. There was some confusion among parents as to how to resolve complaints at the school level versus the district level, and we thought an ongoing educational campaign would be beneficial to keep that kind of in the limelight of how parents can go through and resolve certain situations. And also the overall structure of the parent organizations was discussed, along with the need with a uniform system that can also work well with individual needs of the community. With so many schools no longer participating with DAC through a parent organization, we have to explore new ways to give them the opportunity or the same support that they would get with a parent organization. Not all the schools apparently want to organize. So we want to be able to support them either way. Then we had a really great meeting with Miss Kelly Wachel. We talked a lot about different communications pieces that are ongoing with KCPS and how we could have a stronger DAC presence in those communications, for example, with the e-news and the Our Voice print magazine. And so we're working to try to meet some deadlines to get some information in there about DAC. We gave some information about how to index our long board meetings, like the one we're doing tonight, so that it will be really easy for parents to find the time where they want to tune into a meeting and tune out of the other boring parts of the meeting. No, there's no boring parts of this meeting.
Best show in town.
We're trying to make it easy for those parents who really just want the important information. We felt that shorter video blurbs would be really useful, but we're just going to work with what we can and help them where we can. And then we also gave them feedback on the calendar to make it easier for people to see different activities versus sports versus, clubs, and then district level stuff. So it's an ongoing process. We're really pleased with the results so far, and we look forward to working with those group like Kelly and Courtney and everybody. And then our next meeting is March 16th at 6 p.m. I believe we'll have Board Member Wolfsey and Board Member Ford. So thank you again for the update. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Lyle. All right, Dr. Bedell, we'll turn it over to you for the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have our first presentation under the superintendent's report is a video highlight of one of our high schools, East High School's virtual tour, and I think we're ready to run that video.
Welcome to East High School. My name is Louis Sinahosa, and I am the principal. I'm looking forward for you to learn all about our East Bears, and thank you for taking the time to visit with us.
At East, we serve students in 9th through 12th grades. We first opened our doors in 1924 to serve high school students on the east side of Kansas City. With more than 50 plus languages and countries represented at our school, East is one of the largest and most diverse high schools in Kansas City. Our mission is to ensure each student reaches his or her fullest potential as a learner. With literacy as our focus, our goal is for all students to be successful and gain valuable experience throughout their high school career. After graduation, our students go on to be successful in either college or the career of their choice. We put a focus on learning through a 21st century lens. To prepare students for life beyond high school, we have specific college and career pathways which include agriculture, health science and bioscience, nursing, engineering, teaching, EMT, law and public safety, construction, barber and cosmetology, computer science, culinary, and more. Students can graduate with their industry-recognized credential in their chosen pathway and have job options upon graduation. East offers traditional high school classes, advanced placement, and dual credit courses. In addition, we offer Early College Academy where students attend Metropolitan Community College, Penn Valley where they can graduate with both their high school diploma and associate's degree. We welcome immigrants and refugees into our school. With a high level of English language learners, or ELL students, students start in small group instruction to help them quickly get up to speed with their counterparts. They will have ongoing ELL support to ensure they are successful throughout high school. Along with a high-level academic rigor, East also offers a wide range of sports, clubs, and other activities. Our soccer teams have become some of the most dominant programs in their division. Plus, many of our scholar athletes have earned scholarships to play their given sport at the collegiate level in soccer, football, volleyball, and more. We have something for everyone in our school. Students can be part of junior ROTC, art, instrumental and vocal music, or take a variety of electives. Plus, we offer activities including bike club, dance, debate, newspaper, student council, yearbook, and more. At East High, we believe each student has untapped potential. Students have opportunities to visit colleges, universities, and other post-secondary institutions, as well as participate in job shadowing and internships related to their career interests.
Thank you for visiting. We hope you enjoyed the tour. If you want to learn more about East, please call us at 816-418-3125. Go Bears.
Yeah, Ms. Wachu and team, I want to thank you all for working with East High School to put this together. We did have an opportunity to showcase this with a couple of our charter school units here, and we think that there's a lot of interest, students wanting to come in and bring their parents to have a visit over at East High School. It is very diverse, a nice enrollment within that school with a lot of opportunities, and that's important for us. So our goal is to make sure that we're doing this across all of our schools in the school district and giving people a true flavor and understanding of what we have to offer across the school district. So thank you. The next item is under the superintendent's report is the Minority and Women Business Enterprises Status Report. We'll have Ms. Erin Thompson who will conduct this presentation.
I'm gonna take this off tonight. Good evening, Board Chair Hogan, Dr. Bedell, board members. Tonight we will present on an update on our Minority Women Business Enterprises Administrative Policy, DA. The policy was voted on by the board in January of 2019 with overall goal of 18.3%. At that time, we were working on the Lincoln Middle School project and the Lincoln athletic field. And that project was about almost $12 million. So they set that goal at 18.3%. with the MBE 9.8 and the WBE 8.5. As you see, let's get this going here. The certifying agencies are listed here. We use mostly the city of Kansas City, Missouri, and the state of Missouri. Here's a historical chart. We did 7 years of historical spend on MWBE.
As you see in the year 16-17, we had a large project. We did the middle schools, Central Middle and Northeast Middle, and that was about $27.7 million of major reconstruction. So you see we had a pretty high percentage of MBE at that point. For 18-19, that was the Lincoln project. We were at 14.15% participation. Then for this year, ending 6/30/21, we were in a pandemic, as we all know. We had a ending rate of 8.9%. We came back into the office, I think, March of 2022. So we didn't have a lot of major projects last year at all. We ended up spending $4.9 million on MWBE, which was 8.9%. Our major projects ended up being only $6.7 million. We had no construction projects at all during the pandemic. We did, as we know, we were distant learning and distant working at home. We did, mostly we had laptops we bought from Worldwide Technology, which was 100% MBE. That was $2 million. We did renovations at Woodland. That project was $2.5 million, and 71% of that project was MWBE. The rest of it was PPE, which most of them don't have minority or women vendors for PPE equipment. So our total spend major project was $6.7 million on major projects for 21. This year, we're still in a pandemic. We don't have any major construction projects. That's one of the things we're looking at. Because we set that goal of 18.3 so high, because we had that major construction project with Lincoln Middle and the field, we want to kind of consider maybe we need to look at that annually to see what our percentage should be annually based on the projects we have. That was something that we were looking at. But this year, so far, we've had about $6.3 million worth of major projects. Again, we have the HVAC, $375,000. We didn't have participation in that contract, but the custodial services was totally MWB, but that was only $200,000. We're working still with classroom furniture through Freedom Interiors, that they are a co-op through the state of WBE, and the schools are using it. They haven't finished. They're still using their ESSER funds on classroom furniture right now. And then we're still purchasing our laptops through Worldwide Technology, which is an MBE. So that right now, as of January, we have $6.3 million in major projects for this current year. Next, I want to introduce you to Ashley Blue. She's going to finish this presentation. She was promoted to purchasing manager this school year. So she's going to take you through the outreach, our future planning, and some of the barriers we're facing right now during the pandemic and trying to get funding together for major projects. So Ashley.
All right, thank you, Erin, and good evening. All right, this is a snapshot of our, take this off. This is a snapshot of our supplier diversity information that is posted on our web page. This provides information in regards to how companies can be vendors with KCPS, as well as provide links and resources of our certified agencies here in our metropolitan area if any companies are interested in being certified as a minority or business, small business, etc. All right, the purchasing team, we attend outreach and networking events throughout the fiscal year. And as it was previously mentioned, due to the pandemic, some of these we had to adjust in changing getting used to a different norm. So just to highlight a few, in October of 2021, we held our first virtual Supply Diversity Fair. This wasn't our first fair ever, it was just our first virtual fair. We focused on professional services first, so we met with some of the curriculum and instruction, and with that we had 65 attendees and 8 MWBE firms that participated. The list is there. We've actually entered into agreements and currently working with some of these firms. But for instance, Freedom Interiors, as it was mentioned, is a WBE firm that's providing classroom furniture. Seasons Classic Catering is an MBE who has provided catering services. And if you participated in the last event, the Black History Month event, that was the caterer that provided there. March, we are preparing to host another fair, a virtual fair, where we will focus on construction related or janitorial, office supplies, maintenance, etc. To introduce those MBWE firms to the district and see how we can potentially work with them. April, we will begin a monthly How to Do Business with KCPS. I know we've done this in the past, but this is the opportunity for our local businesses to meet with us and us to provide them information on how they can serve us. We want to do business with them, so I think it's very important that we be available and introduce whatever opportunities we have for them. Future planning, what's next? Again, as I mentioned stated, we had a virtual Supplier Diversity Fair. We are again hosting another in March, and we're very optimistic that we can possibly host the one in September in person. We also have created ads that we have published to news publications. Our upcoming ads will be posted in the Call Paper, the Globe, as well as the KC Hispanic News. We've also set individual department goals last year, and we want to continue to do that. Purchasing facilitates and assists where needed when our end users are seeking vendors, particularly diverse vendors. We have a vendor list of our firms that we update frequently. We also attend the pre-bid meetings or pre-proposal meetings, and we explain our Supplier Diversity Program. This information is also provided in our RFPs and IFBs that we post. So vendors that are interested in doing work with us, before they even have the opportunity to respond to our proposals, that information and guidelines are in there for that. We also, lastly on this one, we are members of chambers, and we also provide our upcoming bid information as well as supplier diversity program information to them as they disseminate our information to their registered vendors and members. Here are examples of the ads that we have placed seeking for new vendors. Here you see we have several different services that we are seeking in hopes that we can build relationships with more of our local diverse firms. In December, we placed the ads in Northeast News and Dos Mundos. We also had the ad translated in Spanish and posted in Dos Mundos as well. We have had several new vendors, and we registered 7 new MWB vendors since December. That number may have changed as we probably process vendor applications almost every day. So it's just tracking that information. But we are going to place our ads in the Globe, the Call Paper, as well as the KC Hispanic News. And we also provided that to our communications department to post on our social media outlets. Successes. We like successes. So since July 1 of 2021 through January 31st of 2022, our total diverse spend was 11.47. If you recall the slide before, our last year total spend was 8.9. We currently have bids that are still out there that have not closed yet, and so we're pretty hopeful that our number can continue to increase with diversity participation. Opportunities for improvement, of course, there's always room for improvement. Outreach being one of them. Again, doing our monthly How to Do Business with KCPS workshop, as well as supplier diversity fairs. Again, going back to setting our individual department goals, being able to know what is needed and what we would like to see will give us time to seek for those vendors and to increase our vendor list. Again, memberships, these are some of the members or some of the chambers that we are members to, and again, we do attend those events that they host, as well as pass out our information to disseminate to their members. All right. Barriers. As it was previously mentioned, the pandemic definitely took a toll on some of our vendors. We have lost. Dot's Office Supply is a well-known WBE, not only for KCPS, but in the Kansas City metropolitan area, who is no longer in business. EG Landscaping is a WB who was a prime contractor who was awarded one of our mowing contracts. And due to capacity changes and things within her company, they are no longer available to provide the services to KCPS in the manner in which they would like to. So that has changed. So when we talk about availability, I know, people say we have vendors, they're here. Availability is kind of both ways. We have to make sure that we're also providing those opportunities for those local businesses to be able to bid, and also know that we actually do business with our local firms. So being able to provide the opportunities to our MBWB firms, as well as being available to them, is important. So we can definitely try to work towards how to be more available to our community. As well as that goes into advertising of a supplier diversity program. The last time I checked, we're the only district that has an actual annual MBWB goal. We all advertise and we all send our information to chambers and things as such, but we are the only ones that actually have a goal to achieve. So being able to provide that information to our businesses and letting them know that we do have a program that provides inclusion and business networking, as well as business relationships, will also kind of help bridge that barrier. So that's pretty much all I have. Aaron, did you have any other? Like Aaron, no.
Bring Ms. Thompson up for the Q&A. That's a really smart, savvy call. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Bedell.
So Ashley, just to help you relax, I remember the first time I had to speak in front of the board, and I had a suit that had 3 buttons, and I had all 3 of them buttoned up as I walked up. I was nervous.
You did great. You did great.
Thank you.
Questions? Go ahead, Ms. Cortez. Oh, did you not signal? Right.
Okay. Thank you very much for.
We try to cover everything that you asked.
Poor Ms. Thompson's already heard my pitch, so I appreciate you bringing the information, laying it out for us. I guess I think we may need to think about some refinement to the way we think about goals, particularly in years where we have construction projects and years where we don't, right? And I want to acknowledge that having spent most of my life in that industry, I get it, right? Those are much higher spends. They're more concentrated. There's enough frequency of business that there is a kind of a strong cadre of MBE and WBE firms. But here's where I'm going to challenge you. I feel like our MBE, WBE outreach strategy is a 20th century strategy in the 21st century. And I think, 20 or 30 years ago when we were advertising and we were putting out kind of broadcast announcements, there were fewer competing channels of information. And for us to truly be successful with an intention of engaging more MBE and WBE firms to do business with us, I think we have to think about how do we make it personal? How do we develop relationships? Maybe we pick a category that we focus on in any particular period, and we go out and we really develop deep relationships in identifying firms, whether it's through the chambers. I've spoken with some of the chamber leaders even as recently as today. I was getting messages from a couple of them having seen that this was on our agenda, folks that I've worked with most of my life. And I think they're prepared to walk with us in that, to help us identify, one business at a time. I think that's how we really build out a much stronger pool. I think the second thing is, while you all hold accountability for reporting to us, you have a very diverse and diffuse group of purchasers, and we need to think about how we create a system where the purchasers have some accountability as well. Because you get to stand here and report and listen to us make suggestions and maybe critique, but they're accountable for how they engage their spends as well.
I know we didn't say that. We didn't blame the end users.
Look,
but yes, you're
and
correct.
I'm not blaming the end users.
Yes.
I'm saying we need to create maybe a stronger awareness and accountability into the process.
We're trying to do that through the budget development process. When we're saying that in your budget this year, if you're having a large project, what percentage are you going to spend with a diverse vendor? But some of the budgets, like HR maybe, they don't have a large budget, and they maybe office supplies is the only availability they have to do that. So, but when we look at maintenance or custodial services, they might have a big contract coming up. That's where we try to get, I need a higher percentage from you. So we're trying to work that in with the end user.
Mr. Abarca.
Yeah, I'm glad Rita went, my colleague, Ms. Cortez, because she's been in this industry, she's been a user of this program, and I have a very cursory understanding. So hopefully you can work with me and navigate as I try and go down this path a little further. I want to acknowledge and congratulate you for even getting here, right? Because you even said it. We are the only district probably in the region who has this, where this could be an opportunity for us to challenge our peers, to create a market that you need, right? I mean, some of this is going to be work creating the suppliers that are then going to be supplying us. And if we lift up all the districts and challenge them, that could help us individually, right? So this is more of a pass, I think, over to Dr. Bedell for his colleagues than you all. But you're hiring. Congratulations, you did a great job. But I think this shows that our priority is here and our hearts are here, right? But agree, there are a couple opportunities that I certainly see, and you've outlined them. I think the chambers component, although I agree that we can diversify the way that we're engaging. I think the Hispanic Chamber for sure, the one I know mostly, this is a go-to for any new Hispanic business. And that reality of really building and cultivating a relationship, right, I think is incredibly important. We get out of it what we put into it. If it's just the fee, that's what we're going to get out of it, right? So I have to press on that more. The individual department goals, I think, is a good step. That I think is new from our conversation, so I think that's definitely an opportunity for sure. And I have to acknowledge Melissa Robinson and the past boards for bestowing this on the district, right? Because this is truly innovative, but not something new to government sectors at all. So I have to finally, I guess, end with reaffirming that this is an opportunity for us to build and cultivate the community that we need for the suppliers that we don't have, right? And so we should look at any innovative ways that we can create a space for folks to engage at whatever level we have opportunity for. So finally, I have to pitch in. A bond would help us get to these things, right? If we build stuff, we have money to do that, which we haven't had in how many years? 50?
The 60s, late 60s.
Oh, thank you. Okay, just wanted to make sure that the public knew when the last time we actually had money.
Ms. Ford?
Thank you for this information. I just wanted to elevate just a few more points that we talked about last week in Finance Committee, and that's just balancing the approach of the community coming to us and finding out about opportunities and ways that we can be more aggressive in going out to the community, and also utilizing these existing structures that are supporting Black-owned businesses, KC Black-owned, Black businesses, KC. That's just for the Black community, but I know that there are comparable structures for the Hispanic community and women-owned businesses as well. So utilizing those structures, utilizing social media as just additional ways that we can be doing better. And then my question is, are there any collaboration happening with any of the other like supplier diversity offices and other businesses in Kansas City? Does that happen?
Yes, I actually had recently met with some of the certifying agencies, the City of Kansas City, Missouri, some of the other agencies that we accept. And they usually have had meetings where we collaborate. I think this is coming back new to the district because prior to here, I was there. So I have 12 years plus experience in certifying MBWB firms, and I know that we all have been at the table before doing it. So they are. So the meeting that I had was to us join together to try to figure out how we can better serve our community and for them to be able to serve us as well. So.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Since you mentioned that you actually come from the 12 years of experience, is there, I just know from my other work that there are a number of women or minority-owned businesses, but they choose not to go through. Can you just give me a little bit of, I think that's one of the hurdles, right? Is the choice not to pursue that designation, which is maybe we do business with folks who are minority or women-owned, but since they don't have that designation, am I correct to believe that doesn't count towards our percentage?
That is correct.
Okay.
The process can be a little tedious for some. They do ask for your life in going through certification, but I think that it's just the way that we communicate it and how it's presented. We do have a lot of MBWB firms that we work with that are not certified, and they'll tell us that they choose not to. And so we also track those numbers too. So we do have numbers that include our certified firms as well as a report for our non-certified firms as well.
So what we're seeing here though is certified only.
Just certified only.
Would that be something the board could have in the Friday packet, is just what does that number look like for the ones that are not certified? I'd be curious to see what that difference is.
We have that report.
Thank you. A couple of questions / points, I guess. So I think to Ms. Wolfsey's final point around the barriers that are created by the process by which people have to go through to get certified. I know Kansas, I learned this recently just in the last couple of weeks. I shared it with Ms. Quinley. Kansas City's process is apparently significantly easier and cheaper than any of the other certification processes. So it's free, and I know that that's part of the barrier for MBE, WBE businesses a lot of times. And Nia Richardson over at KC BizCare will walk businesses right through the process and hold their hand as they go through it. So I wasn't sure if you were aware of that, but that may be another.
That's where Ashley came from, the city of Kansas City, and she worked in that department.
Okay.
So she walks our vendors who are interested through that process.
Cool.
From here.
Okay, great. One of the questions on barriers, I saw that not much advertised regarding supplier diversity program. It was interesting because you I love that you owned it, right? You've created your own barrier, so that seems like a little bit of a softball, something easy for you guys to fix in terms of being able to go advertise more. And then I guess the final thing I would ask you, or it's really more of a suggestion, which is, for the events that you host where you're inviting these businesses in to learn about how to do business with the district and those sort of things, I would encourage you to think about those events a little bit differently and think about what's the value proposition for those entities beyond just simply doing business with the district, right? So how do you bring these entities together in a way that allows them to do business and network with each other and encourage that? And I know it sounds counterintuitive because you're trying to shop your services as well, but it actually could expand the way people think about the district in this program in a way that could be helpful for the opportunities that you're creating for people. So just a suggestion there. Otherwise, great presentation. Thank you for the data. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to our finance team for putting that presentation together, and we will move on. I think that concludes the superintendent's report, Mr. Chair.
It sure does. All right. We'll move over to the board treasurer's report with our treasurer, Mr. Manny Abarca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right. So this was a short month, so keep that in mind as some of these things aren't going to change too dramatically different from last. So looking at our overall funds here, just to remind you, everything's here in this slide, both fund balance, revenues, and expenditures. Looking at the summary has been updated with the budget amendment authorized by the board that we did last month, so keep that in mind. The regular operating budget is budgeted to be a break even, although due to timing of collection of local property taxes, our actual revenues over expenditures is $77 million. The number will begin to decline as a majority of the revenues are collected at this point. Please remember, if you haven't already, pay your property taxes. That will help us budget and plan. We are at 94.6% of current property taxes collected as compared to budgeted, and 80.3% overall collected for local revenues. So thank you for those who have paid, but there's still a missing 5.4%, just to be specific. Looking at our county and state revenues, as of the end of January, our 3 lines of county revenue have not been collected yet. They are generally collected in one of 2 installments in the last half of the fiscal year. Again, this is we collect all at one point, we spend some, we invest some to spend later on, we don't have revenues coming in. The foundation formula is at 46.5% of budget due to the first installments to the charters under our local MOU. This is where we allocate and adjust to fix that gap from the state legislative side. The number is negative because it is a transfer of revenues to charters. So this is us reimbursing charters basically for some of the gaps in funding that aren't specific to the formula. Did I say that correctly?
You did just great.
Okay, thank you. So looking at our federal, thank you. That just some of these line items, if you are curious as to where some of these funds go, or I guess in this case, where some of the funds come from. Looking at our revenue side, this slide next with the pie chart, I think we're trying to get there. 71% of our revenues come from local sources, with 57% coming from local property taxes. Again, if you have not paid your property taxes, please pay your property taxes. You can do it online. You can drop it off at the building outside. You don't have to go in, go through security, just suggestions. Our other significant revenues come from federal program dollars at 27%. This is significantly higher than our normal federal income or federal revenues due to the ESSER funds that are nearly $31 million. Looking at our expenditures, so salaries and benefits are on target for budget. Purchase services, which I believe are the next one here. We continue to see lines here that are underspent due to the availability of services such as substitute teachers. Linda, do you have the percentage of the year where we should be at to show some comparison, or do you know offhand?
So we would be at 6/12, which would be 50, what, David? 6/12.
I would say
7/12, sorry. I can't even count my months. 7/12. 60, 58, yep, 58.
Thank you. Just for those who are consuming this, if you look at the right-hand side, the percentages should be around the 58%, depending upon some of these services, so that you can see where we are to the budget year. Hopefully, I kind of said that correctly. So look at me. You're teaching me how to be a good treasurer. Looking at the expenditure pie chart here. I think we missed the pie chart. Nope, there we go. So contrary to what was actually said, HR has a lot of funding, technically, but they do not have a lot of discretion as to where those funds go by use of our MBWB process. But 63% of our budget is budgeted to be salaries and benefits and 21% for purchase services. Looking at our investment slide, again, this is with property taxes having mostly been collected. We added $105 million to our investment portfolio in January to be used to meet payroll over the next 12 months. Again, when we collect all the money up front from the lump sum payments, we have to manage cash flow at the end of our fiscal year to make sure and accommodate for those months we're not receiving revenue. So that's what these investments are for. With that, Mr. Chair, I am done with my report.
Awesome, thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Abarca or Ms. Quinley?
Mostly for her.
Oh, Ms. Cortez.
So, I'm gonna guess this is a Ms. Quinley question. No offense intended.
No, you're not a video.
I noticed on our investments that where we have traditionally only held U.S. government securities, we're now buying commercial paper.
We've got some paper.
Is that permitted?
It is permitted.
Is that a ratings issue?
So it is permitted. The state of Missouri, I love this question because I miss doing this kind of work myself. So thank you for asking me this question so I can talk about it, even though we have other people here that do it. So in the state of Missouri, it's very specific and conservative as to how public schools can invest their dollars because they're public dollars, right? So risk averse is how you would describe our portfolio always. Commercial paper is allowable based on rating. And we have an investment policy that aligns to the state statute to make sure that we don't get outside of that. It's something we should probably look at sometime at Finance Committee just for an understanding for you guys as to what are our allowabilities and how it is we manage making sure we stay in compliance with that. Great question. Did I do okay?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Quinley. Thank you, Mr. Abarca. Appreciate it. All right. Well, we will move on to the ad hoc committee report, and I'll turn it over to the incredible Ms. Jen Wolfsey.
Thank you, Board Chair Hogan. Ms. Quinley, you may want to come back up in case I miss any of this, but I did want to bring to the public's attention that right now there is House Bill 3014. Did I get that wrong? Okay, I thought it was 2014. It is the supplemental budget bill, and what this is regarding ESSER 3 funds. Those are the dollars that the feds basically, put out to be used by the states for a number of purposes. But we have approximately $1.9 billion in federal funds that have been allocated for Missouri students. But those dollars, we actually are right now the last state to appropriate those dollars. And the good news is we were told right before we came in here around 5 o'clock that the Senate, the Missouri Senate, actually was taking up that bill in the legislature. It was being debated on the floor. So what this means is that we have till March 24th for those funds to be appropriated by our state legislature. But if they're not, they will revert back and they will just be appropriated to other states. So we don't want that to happen. Of the $1.9 billion in funds, we, KCPS, will we get approximately $64 million, and the charters in our boundaries get $52 million. So those dollars can be used to address the learning loss that we've all experienced, staff shortages, mental and physical health, and infrastructure needs. So we need these dollars, and we absolutely want these to be appropriated. And this, it's actually a committee substitute on House Bill 3014. So what I am asking is that those of you that are willing to please contact your senators, asking them to approve that committee substitute. It's really easy. Those of you that are on social media, DM. Those that just want to leave a literally 10-second phone call in their office, that's another way to do it tonight as well. They will, if you want to go ahead and send an email, you can do that too, but they pay attention to the number of calls and emails and DMs that they get, pro and con. So that's all you need to do is just register your voice with your state senator. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfsey. Appreciate it. Dr. Bedell, we'll turn it over to you for regular business items.
Moving along today, thank you. So the first item that we're asking the board to take action on is the KCPS AFT Certified Collective Bargaining Agreement. Mr. Jordan Gordon will present a summary of the changes in this CBA for your consideration and approval.
Good evening, board chair, board members, Dr. Bedell. I want to first start with, I've heard it a couple of times this evening, the synergy around increasing HR's budget. I am looking forward to that. As we spring forward into budget development, I will be finding you, Ms. Thompson. But no, in all seriousness, I am excited, that is serious, but I am excited to come before you this evening to really share the culmination of a lot of hard work and a lot of perseverance to get to the space that we're at. For context, we are going over the CBA item. This is our one-year opener where both sides have the opportunity, being AFT and KCPS, to bring one economic and one non-economic facet before you. On this year, we negotiated a few things here: our 2022 and 2023 school year calendar, our workday conditions, alternative methods of instruction, along with certified compensation. As you see here, the calendar is constructed around the same as in previous years, with 185 work days for our teachers, and we're providing an overview around the structure of what the work days ahead of school year would be. The alignment here is really centered around how do we structure and organize our approach around school readiness, professional learning, and development. So you'll see here kind of an overarching theme that we're going to start globally and really become really intentional, creating space as we get closer to those days ahead of students' arrivals for our teachers to have some significant time in their classroom doing the heavy lifting. On the conference and collaboration day, similar to last week, due to the inclement weather, we had virtual conferences. And again, next year, we wanted to add that very fluid and mobile opportunity for our families to connect in a myriad of ways. You can see here that we came to terms around a conference in February being an option around in-person, via phone, or virtual platform. So our parents can choose which mode and which means is the best approach for them. In addition to that, we wanted to create time allotment in the conference space for our parents to request, or the teacher to request, based on the needs of the student, additional 15 minutes of time if there are any unfilled conference slots during the conference day. And beyond that, we also want to just reemphasize and reiterate that our parents or teachers can request at any time during the regular school year an additional block of time to discuss the student needs and academic performance. I was told it was sticking, and it's sticking. There we go. Alternative methods of instruction. Let me slow down here. Okay, you got it, June. Thanks. Yeah, back one. There we go, right there. Alternative methods of instruction. This was around creating some alignment and really some concise language around what do we do in the event of an emergency building closure or inclement weather. So we took the adopted language from DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, around AMI, and we wanted to uniform and create a consistent manner in which our students, faculty, staff, and administration is more or less of a guideline in the event that we determine that we need to close due to an unforeseen emergency or inclement weather. Next slide. Compensation, the great part here. So we did a lot of great work here, and I'm really, really proud that to see this come forward this evening. This is around the increase that we've done around total compensation for our teachers. So as you can see here, we've increased our starting wage to $43,100 for starting teachers on a bachelor's schedule. This is tremendous for us, and as so much as today looked around our market space, we are still a leader and highly competitive in the compensation space. And one of the other benefits through this work and negotiations with AFT and our teacher reps, we were able to ensure that the overall earnings potential is still the greatest and the richest at Kansas City Public Schools in our area. So we are proud to really share this and thank Ms. Quinley, AFT, and then also the hard work of our teachers to really ensure that we prioritize compensation this go round. Next. Compensation, again, this is just, again, a kind of a visual guide so that our teachers and our administration, we have a set rules around, depending on where you currently sit, how do we translate that into the new salary schedule. Another item around compensation was the teacher substitution rate. So as we've learned over the last 2 years or so, our practitioners in the classroom, our support cast in the buildings, they have really been the backbone of us being able to remain open throughout this year. So we wanted to do our due diligence and work on increasing the sub rate of pay. So as you see here, we've increased the permanent sub rate of pay to $35 and $70 an hour. And one notable mention is that this has been long overdue. We haven't done work here since about 2005, so I'm really proud to see us improve here. Next slide. In addition to that, as we know, we continue to struggle with having substitute shortages, teaching shortages, so we wanted to recognize that going into the next school year, we may continue to have some of these similar challenges around staffing. Our goal is to get really proactive and engaging, as we've already had going into the next school year, but in the event that we still find ourselves in some level of this, we have some additional funding through ESSERS to continue and honor our current increase of sub rates. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Questions? Huh? Yeah, Mr. Abarca.
I just want to give kudos to both my board colleagues and for you and Dr. Bedell, your whole team. This is incredible work that you're doing and so very important for everyone who's going to be benefited by this.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think that's it. So
All right.
let me I turn.
With that in mind, we'd like to.
Yeah, we need to. After? Okay. Sorry, were you going to say something,
Would this
Mr.
be
Gordon?
the time to bring the proposal?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make the
Sure.
motion if that's okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the collective bargaining agreement for AFT certified personnel with compensation and working condition items for the fiscal year beginning July 2022? All right, June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Abarca?
Yes.
Ms. Buckner?
Yes.
Ms. Cortez?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes, the motion passes.
All right, thank you, Board of Directors. Just a couple of comments on this. If people don't know, this has been one of the focuses of our legislative agenda since we started working together in 2016. Coming in from another school district where the compensation was far above what teachers receive in the state of Missouri, we felt that we needed to do our part as a school district to try to push at the state level, and to no avail, we haven't been able to make much movement. The beautiful thing about how local control works is that we do have a lot of control locally in how we can work with our elected officials here and be able to budget in a way that allows for us to compensate our teachers at a respectable level. We're still not where we need to be when you think about border states and the type of salaries that those jobs command. But we have put ourselves in a position at this point from a regional standpoint to be very, very competitive against other school districts that are competing for the same teachers. Additionally, we have a seat on a statewide committee that has been pushing teacher salary. I've been a participant of that with 2 other superintendents and many other teachers across the state of Missouri, trying to at least lift the lower end of what teachers are receiving at 25 to 26,000 in rural school districts, which is just deplorable. And we think that the conversation at this point, it has become serious to where perhaps that the minimum starting salary will be at 38,000, which will still only put us at number 30 in the country. So we have a lot of work to do in this state. And I will say, our negotiating team, along with the union negotiating team, we definitely appreciate this. Lastly, we do want to make sure that when we move to this next phase of overall negotiating, our board has made it very clear around professional development and the importance of time. We have to make that become a priority in the work that we do, to give our teachers time to be able to grow and to also make sure that we're offering meaningful professional development to them as we move into this new era of Blueprint 2030. So I just wanted to close out with those comments and just once again thank you all, thank our team, thank the union leadership and their team for us getting to this point now. I am up. All right, next item. AT&T Switch Ethernet Services Agreement. The administration is requesting approval of the annual contract with AT&T for Switch Ethernet services for the 22-23 fiscal year. These services are eligible under E-rate funding. The annual contract of $1,198,296.24 will be made available in the 22-23 operating budget with an expected E-rate revenue of $782,106.52.
Questions from the board? Doesn't look like it. All right, is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to renew contract E14005 switched Ethernet network services for an estimated amount of $1,198,296.24 to AT&T Corp?
So moved.
Second.
All right, June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Abarca?
Yes.
Ms. Buckner?
Yes.
Ms. Cortez? Oh, she just stepped up. Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes, the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The third item is declaration of surplus property. Administration requests approval to designate KCNA, Kansas City Neighborhood Academy, King Weeks, and Scarrett as surplus property to be considered for repurposing options under the board's repurposing policy. There is no cost to this recommendation. To ensure that we give some context on why we are making these recommendations, we feel that it's important to share this with our community at large. Last month, we provided the board with a closed school site inventory assessment report. In it, we evaluated the 10 closed school sites that were identified by past administrations to be mothballed or held for future use. Our enrollment trends do not support retaining all of these additional sites in our inventory, so we evaluated each of the sites based on a variety of measures to determine which of the sites should remain on the mothballed list and which should be moved to surplus. This board item is an action outlined in the report and is a recommendation to move 3 closed school sites that I mentioned earlier from mothballed status to the surplus list and to begin disposition efforts in accordance with the repurposing initiative process. If one of these sites is within your neighborhood, please know that our repurposing effort includes significant opportunities for community feedback and engagement. If you'd like to get involved, please contact our repurposing staff at repurposing@kcpublicschools.org. While the report provides a full context of the evaluation of each site, I'll highlight a few of the contributing factors for each site. KCNA, located within 1 mile of 4 other KCPS elementary schools, all of which have enrollment below our recommended school size standard. The building isn't consistent with our current school size standards. King Weeks, originally identified for a new elementary site, but high capital costs to renovate and replace, not justified when the area is already served by several other elementary schools within 1 mile. We also have experienced significant vandalism and safety concerns there. And then Scarrett. Cost to reuse the site is cost prohibitive due to vandalism experienced over 10 plus years. It has been vacant. The building isn't consistent also with our current school size standards. Therefore, after completing an assessment of our closed school sites, we are recommending that these 3 sites be declared surplus and no longer needed for educational purposes, and that we begin disposition efforts in accordance with the repurposing initiative. We do have Shannon Jacks here if there are any additional questions from our board.
Thank you for the additional context, Dr. Bedell. Any questions? Doesn't look like it. All right. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to declare the following school properties as surplus?
So moved.
Did we have a hang?
Withdrawal.
Ms. Cortez? No, I didn't have a question. Oh, you went up to the mic really quick. Apologies. To declare the following school properties as surplus and no longer needed for educational purposes, and to begin disposition efforts in accordance with the repurposing initiative. KCNA, Martin L. King Junior Middle, Marion Harmon Weeks Elementary, and Scarrett Elementary.
So moved.
Second.
June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Barca,
Yes.
Ms. Buckner,
Yes.
Ms. Cortez,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Wolsey,
Yes.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes, the motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 5, charter sponsorship agreement with Gordon Parks Elementary School. The administration is requesting approval of the agreement to serve as the charter sponsor for Gordon Parks Elementary Schools. The estimated annual sponsorship fee of $19,917 will be used to support the department's cost and support of Gordon Parks Elementary. With a successful approval, this will now give us 3 charters that we are now sponsoring.
Super excited about this one. Questions from the board? Ms. Wolsey.
It's not a question. I just really want to commend the administration and Dr. Holliday Scott. I know the work that's been done to bring this to this point. And a lot of this began years ago with the Ed Collab guidelines. I like to kind of remind people that, you know, we have a lot to offer, I think, in this space of making this a system that works for both charters and for us. And I think that I just commend you, Dr. Bedell, for continuing to, that's a hard thing to keep going after. But I think we have started to show some of those charters that we have sponsored, we are a good sponsor. And we're really a partner when they choose to come to us. So I want to commend you and your staff.
You're here.
Thank
Mr. Abarca.
Yeah, just for clarity for the public safe, can you remind us as to what a sponsorship agreement means, just so that the public knows what we are doing in this situation?
Absolutely, Mr. Abarca. Just to remind the board, the responsibility of a sponsor, we are required to follow the Missouri statute that outlines the responsibilities, and we are expected to evaluate and approve charter school applications. We are also responsible for monitoring the school compliance with state as well as federal regulations, and as well as the charter performance goals, and that's outlined in the contract that is before you. Also, we are to evaluate charter school performance over the period of time of the charter contract, and then with that, we are then expected to make recommendations to the state board of renewal or whether intervention is needed. And intervention could be probation or even revocation of the charter or closure of the school. So those are our key responsibilities. And just to also clarify for the public, the school does remain their own LEA. So the school has its own local education agency with its own board. We just provide oversight for that board.
Ms. Ford?
Can you just say what the other two schools are?
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
since we're reminding.
Absolutely. Currently, we sponsor Allen Village School. We initially began sponsorship of them in 2019, and this is when the University of Missouri Kansas City made a decision to no longer sponsor. And then I was before the board last month for a contract with Crossroads Charter School.
All right, looks like that's it. All right, is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the charter agreement to serve as charter school sponsor to Gordon Parks Elementary School, a Casey area charter school?
So moved.
Second.
June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Abarca?
Yes.
Ms. Buckner?
Yes.
Ms. Cortez?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes, motion passes.
And, I did, please excuse me, Dr. Bedell. I did want to share with the board, in case you had any questions, we do have the superintendent of Gordon Parks with us here tonight. She is here, as
Hello.
well as one of her administrators, her curriculum administrator is here with us. So,
Oh.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, welcome. Yeah, thank you for your trust in us.
All right, great. Good to see you all in the house tonight. All right, so our last item, First Amendment of the Real World Learning Grant acceptance from the Kaufman Foundation in the amount of $200,000. Administration requests acceptance of the First Amendment of the Real World Learning Grant from the Kaufman Foundation as a part of Cohort 1 with the Real World Learning Initiative. This amendment increases the grant by $200,000 to $400,000 total and supports the increased student opportunities that we've been working on over the last 3 years. This grant ends this fiscal year.
Questions? Oh, Ms. Ford.
So I just need to recuse myself, given my employment with a affiliate and grantee organization of the Kaufman Foundation.
Thank you. All right, no other questions. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the pilot implementation grant for Kaufman Foundation?
So moved.
Second.
June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Abarca?
Yes.
Ms. Buckner?
Yes.
Ms. Cortez?
Yes.
Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes, the motion passes. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Which, I'm not sure who came first there. Miss Buckner gets the second. Lucky her. All right, June, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Abarca?
Yes.
Ms. Buckner?
Yes.
Ms. Cortez?
Yes.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Wolfsey?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes, the motion passes. And I don't believe we have any action items resulting from tonight, do we?
We do have one.
Oh, yeah, we do have one, apparently.
One moment, please.
Yep.
What is it?
Non-certified MBE, WBE firms? A listing for this Friday.
Okay, that was the only one?
Yes.
What a great meeting. We're adjourned. Good night.